Bianca Poller, woo! Did anyone else get really choked up listening to that? Bianca, that was beautiful. For some of us, we've been watching her grow up, and I know she belongs to you too, but I feel like I'm watching my own. Bianca, it was beautiful. Thank you. Okay. Can you hear me now? Well, we heard you. There's a gentleman named Doug Kruschke, and he had this business called Synergy, and the intention of Synergy is win-win. We come from a culture that tends, or just I think human beings have, because we're in comparison and competition, we have win-lose. One person wins, one person loses, or both people lose. But the idea that both people can win, that's still an expanded idea that is hard for us to grasp. I had a friend who worked for his business. She was an administrative assistant. And so she invited me one time, this was 30 years ago, to witness what he did with corporations. So he was going into a corporation, so I went. It's a huge building, huge room. And he was giving examples of synergy. And this was 30 years ago, so I don't remember the details. So I can't tell the details, but I can tell you my reaction. I remember it because I remember my response to it. He was giving an example of he and his wife, and they were in their bedroom, and they had different ideas of how they wanted their bedroom to look. And they both had very strong ideas and very different ideas. And they both had and it was strong. It wasn't like neutral or I can do this. No, I really want the room. And I remember listening to him so intently because I'm like, how is it even possible to get to win-win from these two very different ideas? And since they do this win-win process, they were both very clear about sharing what they wanted, not to manipulate or get the other person to agree with them, not to make the other person wrong, but also not backing down and saying, well, okay, I'll give in and do it your way. So they both stated what they wanted very clearly, and he said, then you have to be in that uncomfortable moment because neither of you know how to see it through, but you stay in it together. And you sit in that unknown. And he said, and then suddenly this whole new solution came through that neither of us could come through on our own of how to do that room. And I don't remember, I don't remember the details. I just remember my response because I was so surprised. It was brilliant. Their answer was brilliant of how to do this. And I couldn't see it when they were giving the example. And it was that synergistic response of win-win. What a beautiful way to live. What a beautiful possibility for our planet. We get there by both speaking our truth and by listening. This month, for those of you who've been along this ride, we've been going through the chakras, the energy centers in our body, and we are now on our throat chakra. And last week I was talking about speaking our truth. The throat chakra is about speaking out, expressing ourselves into being. And the sense organ for the throat chakra is the ears. They work hand in hand. They're intimately related. Actually, I should take away the ears. This is really important because I know there's a new show out called Coda, and there's The Sound of Metal, and these are both about people who lose their hearing. In Hinduism, ears are just the outer manifestation of the quality of listening. So I'm talking about the quality of listening. It's not dependent on being able to physically hear. So we can listen to one another through body language, through sign language, through all sorts of, even if you're in a different country and don't speak the language, you can sort of pick up what they're saying. So I'm talking about listening from that place that is not dependent on ears. So listening and speaking. So Doug Kruschke had this exercise. Another thing that I remember my response more than I remember the details. He had everybody break up into dyads. I was just the witness. Sometimes when you're just the witness, you learn way more because you're not involved, so I'm just watching. And he had one person A tell person B something, whatever they wanted to tell them. At least that's my memory of it. And person B, then when it came back to the big circle, person B would share what person A told them. That's it. Very simple exercise. It was a listening exercise. First group goes, first dyad goes. Person B shares what person A had shared with them. And then the person I said, well, no, that's not really what I said. And then they said what they said, and it was so different. And I remember being so startled. I'm like, how did person B hear that? It was not even close to what person A said. And then it kept happening with each dyad. And I remember just sitting there in shock, like, wow, we really don't listen well. We really think, and even when we're speaking, we assume people are hearing what we're saying, are understanding what we're saying, but I was seeing reflected back at me. And I had, the great thing about being a witness, I had no personal involvement. So I was just watching. I'm like, I had no judgment. I was just sort of amazed. We interpret so much of what we hear other people saying that we don't always, not always, we always will hear partially. Like I can listen, I'm hearing some of it, but I'm putting a whole nother spin on it through my vehicle of listening. So let's just take a moment right now. Just turn your attention inward and say, what are you listening to right now in your awareness? Just listen within. What's going on inside of you? And then open your eyes. I'm always struck when I turn within and listen within that there's like a whole nother world that's happening inside of me. Even now when I just did, I'm like, oh, I didn't know that was happening inside of me right now. There's so much happening inside of us that we're not aware of because, well, our attention will be out there and we don't even know we have like a little inner self that's having its own little conversation inside. So we want to be listening inside. What's going on within me? What's going on within us? We're going to talk today about karma. I wanted to talk about karma today because karma, we hear the word a lot, so I'm going to explain what it means. But karma is what often is going on inside of us. If you just turned within right now, what you will recognize is that whatever you heard will probably be fairly familiar to you. It wasn't like some crazy new idea. It wasn't some other voice you were hearing. It was your voice that you hear pretty regularly and consistently. So let's talk about karma. We know it's in the Judeo-Christian tradition and the Abrahamic religions because in the Old Testament, as you sow, so shall you reap. The sins of the father or the mother and parents get passed down to the kids. We can take sins out of there. The habit patterns of the parents get passed down. Now we know DNA gets passed down. In our own teaching, we have something called the law, which Ernest Holmes got from Thomas Troward. Thomas Troward, who was a judge, an English judge, got it when he was serving as a judge in India. He got it from Hinduism. In Hinduism, karmic law is huge. In fact, FREMONT Yogananda, who's a teacher of mine, his guru wrote a book called The Mental Science. This is very normal in the Hindu tradition. And so FREMONT Yogananda is one of my teachers, and one of the things that always strikes me is law is everything in the way his teaching. This universe is karmic law. It is habit patterns. Everything in this world runs on karmic law, on habit patterns. Now, the difference between Hinduism and perhaps the Western view is in Hinduism, because they believe in reincarnation, you can be reincarnated into a Chinese family, a European family, an African family. So your ancestry, the DNA, your ancestry can change according to what family you're in or what culture you're in. I'm not professing any belief system. I like being open and curious about all of it. And until I have some direct revelation, I just remain open. I do like the Hindu view only because it frees me up. Like I'm sure some of you have felt connected to other cultures other than the one you were born in, to other family systems, to other religions than the one you were born in. Perhaps you had another life there. I don't know, but I like that idea. It feels very open-ended. But because Hinduism is so strong on law, like it's hard sometimes to break free. So their way of breaking free of this very intense law, I guess the point that I want to say is that's how powerful law is. It carries you from lifetime to lifetime, no matter what country you're in, what culture you're in, or what religion. That habit pattern is so strong, it's carrying you. Wherever you go, it's there. That's how much it's running you, and you don't even know it. I shouldn't say you, us. That's how much it's running us, individually and collectively, more than we even know. We are born into a habit pattern, whether it's a cultural habit pattern, and we have our own individual cultural habit pattern. So in Hinduism, breaking free of the habit patterns, breaking free of this karma is the whole purpose of Hinduism. That the only way is not to change habit patterns, although that's definitely part of it. The main thing is to break free from all habit patterns, keep meditating, and break free from the structure, the karma of the world. We have a little different Western view of it. In Western, we say, well, we can change karmic habit patterns while we're in this lifetime. We can change these habit patterns. How does that happen? So I'm going to give you a little story. And hopefully it will teach us how important this one tool is. Years ago, I saw a film called Lumumba, which is about a Congolese dictator. Or actually, no, he was the first elected democratic leader in the Congo after the Belgium colonization. He only lasted a few months. Now, I don't know the history of Congo. I know there's complexity to everything. There's multiple perspectives to everything. I'm just talking about the movie. So in the movie, the perspective was the United States, the Western government, did not support democracy because it did not suit them. They supported a despot, a dictator, who ended up killing Lumumba, and then there was all the years of dictatorship. So we were not supporting a democracy. That was sort of the essence of the film. I saw the film. It was sticking with me. I didn't start studying. We didn't have Google, so I didn't Google Congo and learn the history. I just was feeling the intensity of this film and the sadness of this film. I went to sleep, and this was before Julian, so waking up at 4:30 in the morning was very unusual. Now that would be normal, but before baby, I could sleep. And I had this incredible dream. And in this dream, another minister, Reverend Sherry McCreary, she's currently a minister in Arizona. At the time, Reverend Cheryl, her daughter, and myself were in Cleveland, and we were visioning regularly. So she was in the dream, and she was leading the way, and I was with her. She was at the Capitol building, and she began praying. Someone came to and asked her for prayer for forgiveness. This was someone who worked in the legislation. And they were asking her for forgiveness for things they had done in their role in the government. And she started praying for forgiveness for them. And then more people started coming, and the lines, and I was helping her, and then we were just like, this is way too many people, there's so much forgiveness that needs to be done, that we started calling in all our New Thought colleagues, ministers, to come in and just pray constantly, and the lines just kept getting bigger and bigger of people who had worked in the government asking for forgiveness. And I woke up at 4:30 and I couldn't go back to sleep. It was such an intense and powerful dream of this need for forgiveness. At 9 o'clock in the morning, I did something fairly unusual, but I'd been up since 4:30. I turned on the TV. And it was 9/11. It was the same day the planes flew into the World Trade Center. And the shock of it. And there was no way I couldn't make the connection that I had from that dream about the we need to forgive. Because without forgiveness, without taking ownership and asking for forgiveness, and there's so much forgiveness that is constantly needed, and we need to be doing that work, we have the impact of karma, the impact of this law, that when we do things that hurt other people, it comes back upon us. It felt like this immediate manifestation. Now I'm one person of 7 billion. I'm not saying it, this is the truth. It was a truth for that moment. But what it taught me was the power of forgiveness. And if we want to move into a new realm, past karmic law, to hear what other people are saying, to hear the divine presence within us, Forgiveness has to be there, because otherwise these karmic laws, it's interesting, even with Yogananda, he integrates himself with this teaching of Christianity. That was one of his big messages. But even when he talks about forgiveness, I can tell that it's still foreign to him. He just kept going to, yeah, you can forgive, but you still have to work out the law. Like, this is something that's very hard. It's going to take lifetimes. And you can see it a little bit with India. They're a little bit more stuck. In America, we have this like, no, we can change it. We can change it now. We can. This is more fluid than that. And the way it's more fluid is through forgiveness. We are so blessed, many of us who grew up with this teaching of forgiveness. Because every time we forgive, we start new. I don't know about you. I have a practice of forgiveness every day. I ask for forgiveness for all my limitations, for all my ignorance, the things that I can't see. And I ask to have a forgiving heart for other people, for their limitations and for the things they can't see. Because we're all limited in some way or form. That forgiveness opens us up to hear new things, to hear beyond what our patterns are, to hear beyond what we think we're hearing based on our patterns and what's really being said. So just let's take another moment, just turn within and listen to what's going on inside of you. And as you're listening, how soft is your heart right now? Is there something, a wall? Are your thoughts, are your ideas right now blocking you? Sometimes that's appropriate. It's not to judge, just be aware. Listen. As we continue to listen within, you can open your eyes. We start to really know who we are, to be soft towards ourselves, to be understanding and compassionate towards ourselves. There are times when we need to protect ourselves, and so there's a time to be protected. This isn't a time to take in other people's energies if I feel like they're coming at me with something. Or, when I was a kid, I didn't really get jokes a lot. So then they started realizing that and making fun of me, and I didn't even know it. And then I realized I couldn't tell when they were making fun of me and when they weren't. So it made me very protected. Like I would just sort of watch, like to see, that's sometimes how I feel now. I'm not always sure what's going on, but I do feel like I need to protect myself if people are coming at me, even if I'm not clear. So listening isn't about just being an open heart all of the time, because it's about knowing when to listen, knowing who we are, knowing what we want to be, who we want to be. And most of all, we want to know, are we listening to the divine presence, and do we believe the divine presence is listening to us? So do you feel that the divine presence knows you and is listening to you and responding to you? And do you feel that you listen to the divine presence? We need to have a relationship with this infinite intelligence because it is so much wiser than we are. I think one minister put it, it's just so much smarter than we are. It just seems like such a human way to say it, but I loved it. We have karmic habit patterns. Spirit has no karmic habit patterns. Spirit is absolutely free and without precedent, and it absolutely loves you. You. It loves us individually, and this is a really important part. So even, I was talking about the karma carries us to lifetime to lifetime. The one presence and the one power knows who we've been throughout time and space and beyond time and space and all these lifetimes. It knows better than we know ourselves because we're so fully in our patterns that we don't even see it. We can't see it. We're blind to it. I remember one therapist saying that, please be gentle with other people because we are all blind. We all have our blind spots. But Spirit doesn't have any blind spots. And so that's the one place, for me anyways, that I trust. I'm not always sure what I'm getting out there, but I know I can trust it, and I know most of you have this experience of it hears us. It responds immediately to us if we're paying attention. If we're only listening from our karmic habit patterns, though, we may only want answers that are within our comfort zone of what's familiar. So what we want to be doing is listening beyond our habit patterns. Can we hear things that we don't expect to hear, that we may not want to hear, can we hear things that push us beyond what we think we're capable of. There's this great story. Okay, I took a career test, and the worst I got was a mechanic. Just don't be a mechanic, Harriet. You are awful at that. So this story, I remember this story because it freaked me out. So Yogananda he loves to push people in his world. And so there was a disciple that he had, and she's telling this story, and he said, well, Susie, or whoever you are, our truck is totally run down. You need to go fix it. She goes, I don't know the first thing about fixing a truck. He goes, that's okay. Just listen to the divine presence within you. Keep asking God, and it will guide you. And so she's like, well, it's guiding me to a mechanic shop. And he wouldn't let her go to a mechanic shop. He said, no, you have to learn that Spirit has the answer to everything, even something that's so far outside your comfort zone. And that's why I remember, I'm like, I'm so glad I didn't know Yogananda then. Make me fix a car? Sheesh. There's no excuses. You can't say, well, that's not who I am. Nope, that's what you're going to do. And you know what? It took her a long time, but she did it. She fixed a car and had no clue about how cars ran. But she kept listening and getting guidance. She would, if she needed to buy tools, she would ask people, well, where do I buy this or where do I get this? But she did it. Makes me think of Reverend Michael when he found Ricky, when he started Agape. He went into a bar and she's singing. And he goes, that's her. That's going to be our music minister. And he went up to her and he said, I'm just starting a new church and I really would like you to come and be one of our, he just went singers. He didn't say the head of the music ministry. And she said, oh, no, I don't do church. I don't believe in any of that stuff. No way. And Reverend Michael in his inimitable way, like, well, just come to a service and check us out. We're a little bit different. So she comes. She's like, okay, I'm getting the vibe. I'll think about it. What do you want me to do? He says, well, I want you to lead a choir. She says, I don't know the first thing about leading a choir, and I don't read music. He said, that's all right. Spirit will tell you how to do it. These teachers, they're so annoying. So eventually, it takes time, but he gets her. So she's singing, and then she starts this choir. And I actually joined the choir, and I learned how to play piano. I sang in choirs. I know how to read music. That's what I expected. I had no idea, because she doesn't read music. You don't get any music when you join the choir. The way you do it is she sings a part to you, whatever that part is, alto, bass, second soprano, soprano. She sings it to you. You record it, and you just keep singing it over and over till that's how you learn the music. And I'm not auditory, so that was Jack would get that in a second. For me, it was very difficult. So all of her music, if you hear all that agape choir and all that stuff, even the music that's now written, someone else wrote. She doesn't know how to write. She's an incredible piano player, but everything's by ear. Everything has to be from Spirit. So she was very big on what it gave her was freedom. So anyway, she starts this choir. You have to sing from your heart because there's no music, so you can't get lost in music. And I remember there on Christmas Day, a couple years in a row, they sang downtown, in downtown LA at some big thing where all these big gospel choirs were singing. And these people had incredible musical training, just to the T. The choirs were just so good and intricate and talented and skilled and practiced. And then there's the agape choir. Agape choir, by the way, you didn't have to be able to sing on key to be in the agape choir. You just had to have a big heart and give service. That was the requirement is you had to give 6 months of service in the community before you were allowed to be in the choir. So it was all about the energy from which you were coming, and you feel it. When you listen to the agape choir, and I don't know if you ever been able to hear them live. Whew, it's just, you're just in another place. But they don't have all the skill, and I think it was just always this funny thing, because you had all these amazing choirs and so skilled, and then the agape choir would come out and sing and just open up hearts. When God is guiding us, we're finding a freedom and a lightness of being that may not look like the way you're supposed to do it, the way you were trained to do it, the way you're educated to do it, the way you're supposed to do it. But when we're listening to Spirit, it is going to guide us in a way that's completely unique for us and perfect for us, and people are going to feel it in our presence. We're going to feel more fulfilled, and when we're aligned and listening to that Spirit, then it's much more able for us to listen to other people and allow their freedom to be, because we're free. The freer we are, the more we can really hear other people, because now we don't have all that stuff. We don't have all that, this is the way it should be, or this is what, we have freed up our own inner world, and now we can connect with other people's inner world. It's a both and, freeing up so we're really hearing and listening. You know, I say this all the time, but you know the thumbprint, we each have our own, 7 billion unique thumbprints throughout history. There's no one who's had, in the past, no one has had a thumbprint like you. The same is true of our soul print. Nobody on this planet, 7 billion people, nobody has a soul print like you. Nobody has a soul print in the past like you. So you have to listen. Nobody can do this for you. Nobody can do this for you. Nobody can listen and hear for you. You have to do it because it's going to be utterly unique to you. Love that song you sang today, Bianca. There's a line in there that's saying it can be really lonely too. I mean, we make it sound very exciting, the path less traveled. Because you can't, there gets to be a point where you can't follow what everyone else is doing. Because you start to feel that it's not in integrity with your own being, with who you are. There's nothing wrong. It's always hard to talk about this stuff because it's always like, well, then they're wrong. Everybody's right. Let's just assume everybody's right, at least partially. I'm glad you got that. But, so it's not that other people are wrong, but what is right for me? What is right for the soul? We were all called to be on this planet. We are all called to be here, our unique way of being, and nobody can tell us what that is because nobody's been us before. And the only way that sounds really good, but that means we really have to listen and to free ourselves from the karmic habit patterns and listen and free ourselves, forgive, listen with an open heart in safety and in trust to this presence that knows everything. Let's just turn within and listen again. Listen to that voice that is for you, specifically for you. Feels so good. It feels so good. Do you feel a little bit better about when you're listening? Do you feel your heart opening, warming up? You're not nodding your head. You're not anyone feeling any better? You can open your eyes. You can nod. You can say yes. Maybe you're not. I find that I love what Mark Napo says is that it brings vitality in life. The more we listen and intentionally listen, and it's hard. You know, the funny thing is I don't know much about Mark Napo. I've heard a few quotes by him. People read his books, but I haven't been called to him. But as soon as I had to talk about hearing, I knew he was the guy. Like, he has the aura of listening. When we start to listen, people know how deeply a listener you are, how deep a listener you are. In fact, his book, he begins with the way he became aware of how important listening was as he started losing his hearing. He couldn't hear. And that's when listening became really important to him. What's really going on inside. And he started listening far more what was happening in here, listening to his heart, than through his ear organ. They're all connected. Purify our heart, our throat, and our ear. Have them all working together. Our listening. So just coming to this 8th year anniversary, I'm pretty excited where we're going. I'm actually very excited because I feel now more than ever I'm clear about where we're going, and it bums me out on some time, and it makes me so happy all at the same time. And it bums me out because I've been a minister for 21 years. I've been at this center for 8 years, and I've been trying so hard to find my way. Not just the way, not the CSL way, not the New Thought way, not the Yogananda way or the Shunryu Suzuki way or the Jesus way, but the way that I'm supposed to do it. And it was so, even though I had that intention, it's been so hard because of the karmic habit patterns, these things that keep pulling me back to what I know, to what I've experienced, to how I see things. And so I would start to move forward and then like, oh no, I should probably do it that way because that's the way you're supposed to do it. And then so some of you were at the FREMONT Center, and there was a really solid education process. When I was at Agape, we had 4, this was UCSL, this was the United Church. There were four classes that you took before training. Foundations, treatment and meditation, self-mastery and roots. That's it. No other classes. I can still tell you the days, and we had day classes and evening classes, then we had Prac 1 and Prac 2. We had the same schedule year after year. I took the classes on the East Coast, because in United, everyone had only these 4 classes, so there weren't a million options. It was just these 4. Everybody took them. We had 1,200 students going through the classes. I knew that program inside and out. I was around, that collective energy. Everybody was doing it. Thousands of people are doing it. It just was so wonderful. And then the ministerial school came to Agape when I started there. I was the registrar. I was so invested in the program. Last week I was talking about my opinions about the ministerial school, but I was very invested because I was also on the only administrator that was doing work for the Holmes Institute and the LA campus. I was getting all the ministers for panels, for teaching classes. I was immersed. So as I've tried to figure out what's my way, this is the way that's in me, and I've seen it work, and I've seen it work really, really well. So I kept trying to find my own way, but then I'm like, no, I should do the CSL way. I'm trying to find my own way, but and there's always this dissonance. And then also Yogananda is my teacher, and Shinra Suzuki is my teacher, and Jesus is my teacher. How does this all work together? And I see even as our own CSL has opened up, we offer so many more classes, and the education code since 2000, since I've been a minister, has changed. It keeps changing. Like we're all changing. I see Agape trying to get a set education program because the world's changing so fast. It's changing so fast, and we're all trying to figure out, okay, now how are we going to do education? Now how am I going to do education? No, how am I going to do? And I've been caught up in that and sad and anxious and struggling, and at the same time getting excited about new things, but no, that didn't work, and all that stuff. And then we had COVID, and somehow everything seemed to shift with COVID. A lot of people are moving away, and I was talking to Lynn, and I'm saying, I just feel like it's different. I don't know who we are as a community. I haven't seen people for a year. We've all been on camera. I just don't feel connected. I just don't know who we are. And Lynn, in her brilliance and wisdom, and this is why we need community members, said, why don't we vision? Duh. Oh yeah, that'd be a really good idea right about now. I had visioned before. Don't get me wrong, I had visioned before. But my mind was still so clouded with habit patterns. I'm giving my example, but I'm trying to say this to all of you. Even with the intention, I had habit patterns, like my attachment to this, I didn't even know. If you asked me, I wouldn't have said that I had this attachment because I didn't know. Our habit patterns we can't see. We are blind to our own limitations. This, by the way, is why we have friends that we trust, not everybody. Our deepest friends, we have practitioners. We have those people who can see our habit patterns and can gently help us see them for ourselves because we're blind to them. So I had things that I just was blind to. I couldn't see it. And then suddenly, this past 6 months, because COVID, because everything seemed different, and I've tried so many different things in the 8 years we've had this center. I've just tried everything. And I'm just like, I finally was able to, and then Spirit, one of the things, hearing Spirit. If you're listening to Spirit, you should be in a constant state of awe, by the way, because Spirit's always going to be saying things that are way beyond what you know. Set your intention to be in awe on a daily basis. So Spirit was asking me to write these blogs about my life, which feels very narcissistic, but I was clear I had to do it. And in doing that and looking at my life, my journey, your unique journey, know your life, know your unique journey. It's every detail of your journey is essential. It's not, oh, by the way. It's not someone else is more important than my journey. My journey, every detail, God has been in every detail of your journey. And that can be really hard to know. Listen to James Finley, who's just this beautiful mystic. And yet he talks about the incredible trauma and abuse that he went through as a child. And how, as he was praying all the time, and God didn't answer. How do you rectify that? And he talks about it. It's so heart-opening. But finding that healing, pray. No matter what our journey was, good, bad, whatever, usually both, that the divine presence knows every detail of our life. And as I was writing, so just the blog was just for me sort of to see, to hear myself in some way. And what I started to see, I had this mind-blowing explosion. This whole time I thought, yeah, it takes about 4 years to be a practitioner, to be really seasoned and to deep. And then I realized, oh my gosh, I was doing healing work within a month. I spent a month, 30 days in total silence, reading Joel Goldsmith's Thunder of Silence, and God, and surrendering my life to God. I was doing healing work. I didn't ask. It was just, that's what I was led to do at that time. I didn't need 4 years. I didn't need to take hundreds of classes. And it was like this explosion because I had bought into a system because I was so part of it, and I did get so much out of it, but it didn't make me a better healer. It was really fun to learn new things. I like learning new things, question new things, getting the best part is community and all the great conversations. But it didn't make me any better of a healer. That was a mind-blowing awareness. Like, oh, you don't have to spend all these classes and all this time to be a healer. Is that blasphemous to say that? What I've had to learn is there's that which is fully orbed in us right now, and then there's absolutely the power of experience. And they're both important, and they're both needed. But sometimes, if we don't have all those years of experience, it doesn't limit the ability of spirit to work through us now. And I think of Shunryu Suzuki, who wouldn't teach people about Buddhism. He made them meditate, because he said, you have it already, and if you start learning about it, you're going to learn yourself out of it. So as we're visioning, the thing that keeps coming, and you all, most of you know that that before we moved into this space, little St. Francis had this conversation with me that what we are is a house of prayer, and I started visioning what a house of prayer is, but I still was so wrapped up in the structure of CSL, I could not see how to move forward. And as that idea dissolved, like, no, we can have people who are praying powerfully in its healing energy right now. I don't have to have 4 years of training and all this stuff to be incredibly powerful prayers, even as I just allow that new idea to and especially for those of you who've been in CSL, do you see how that's a new idea? If you've been in CSL for years, 20 years, or 30 years, and you have this idea that you have to do it this way, and if you don't, don't have the right consciousness, and that there's incredibly powerful people who from day one can be healers. Joel Goldsmith has a story of his first healing experience. Some woman came up to him and said, you're a healer, pray for somebody. And he said, I didn't know what she was talking about. So I just turned within and said, God, I have no idea what she's asking me. I don't know how to pray, but I pray for this person. And that was it, and the person was healed. Not how we imagine it. He's always talking about the consciousness is this and the consciousness of that. But just the open-hearted willingness, just that open-hearted willing to go beyond what you've known before. He never knew anything. He didn't know a thing. But you don't have, when we connect with spirit, Yogananda asking that woman to fix a car, we don't have to know. Spirit knows everything. We need to know the knower that knows. So as we've been visioning, this meditation is about knowing the knower that knows. Meditation is direct contact, not through books, not through secondary learning, but through sitting in meditation, opening our heart to that which is beyond our karmic habit patterns. This is the gift of the East. Meditation, moving beyond our karmic habit patterns to know something greater and wild, and that takes stillness, that takes letting go. Meditation is hard because our ego does not want to let go. Our habit patterns do not want to let go. These structures that carry us from lifetime to lifetime do not want to let us go. But the meditation itself is extraordinarily powerful. And then when we give ourselves to it on a daily practice, we are breaking the chains of bondage. We are breaking the chains of our own unique bondage. We all have our own unique bondage, that individual karma that's been carrying you perhaps lifetime to lifetime, or however you believe. It's very strong, and it's chains. Meditation breaks it. And then we have prayer, the prayer that opens us up to forgive, that prayer that opens to allow new life here on earth, to not have to wait till we die, but right now to know a life of freedom and love and of joy beyond anything that is part of our karmic habit pattern. I told the story of so I got the prayer and the meditation, but I tell the story because it's taken me 20 years to get my own path because I had so much habit pattern. This is what I'm trying to say for all of us. We all have our own individual things that we don't even know is there. I didn't know how much it was running me until it just burst open. I'm like, oh, I didn't even think to question that. I just believed it. We all have that. Things that we just assume are true. Break free. We meditate and we pray. So this fall, I'm offering a prayer and meditation class. It's the first one. I don't care if there's only 2 people in the class, I'm teaching it. Because it's my learning too. I'm learning how to do it. I'm listening to Spirit. Hopefully I'll have Gloria Halverson and Kathy Sharmer in there recording what I'm doing, helping me with the structure of it. I'm taking a class with Unity about the structure of a prayer chaplaincy because that's my weakest area, except if I listen to Spirit. But I'm doing all of that, and then we're going to do it again, prayer and meditation, in January. And by May, for me, is to have this really solid structure of prayer and meditation. And those classes are going to be offered again and again and again and again because that to create not just a class, not just a moment, but a way of being for the Lighthouse. That as the Lighthouse community, we are a prayer and meditation community. That when people come into our consciousness, when they, and because it doesn't have to be physical, but when they come into our conscious orb, they feel it. They feel, just like when I knew Mark Napo, I don't know him, but I knew he was a listener. I could feel that depth from where he was coming. People will feel that about this community. Not that they don't already, but we're just going to go deeper and deeper with our prayer, forgiveness, meditation, creating heaven on earth now, not waiting until we die, being free. That's the ministry. And it surprises me because I'm like, this is why I knew I wanted to do this when I became a minister. I'm going, why did it take me 21 years? Because I had to break through all these bondages, all these chains to see it. Break through your chains. Break through your chains. Because on the other side of it is extraordinary new life, is a life of awe and miracles every single day. Not miracles where you're jumping up and down, oh my gosh, not like that. But these moments of, I'm not saying awe like a flippant word. I'm like moments of just, holy smokes. Can't believe that revelation. That I on one hand, responsive universe, I was asking a question this past week. Didn't even occur to me that Spirit could answer it. It seems so big and crazy. Next thing I know, an hour later, this whole answer starts coming. I wasn't holding on to getting an answer. Right there, amazing. An answer I never imagined, never could have thought of. Awe, constant, listening, hearing, beyond the habit patterns, individually and collectively. That's how we create a new earth, a new heaven and a new earth. Can you hear me now? Yeah. You hearing yourself? Hearing that inner world? Your own unique, beautiful, radiant, powerful self that is the life of God that has never shown up before on this earth the way it's showing up now. Not even who you were yesterday or the day before, but who you are now is new. It is new. It is new. And it is now. Let's pray. And so let's begin with our prayer, just turning within and feeling and hearing where we are now. Let's start with where we are now. And for everyone, that's going to be different. Honor what's going on for you right now. And oh, my beloved God, how you love us. As we are listening to that heart space within us, there is this power, this presence that loves everything it's hearing. It has no judgment. It's not trying to figure out or analyze what it's hearing. It's just loving and accepting whatever is being heard in this moment. Breathe that in. Divine presence and divine power has no expectation for us to be anything other than we are right now in this moment. To know that wherever we are in our inner world right now, it is absolutely fulfilled and surrounded and embraced in pure, unlimited, unbounded love. We are swimming in love. It's impossible to get outside of this love. This love is washing over us, breath by breath, in every space in between. Joy, freedom. No more bondage in this moment. There's nothing to be bondage to. No matter what we're thinking or feeling, we're free. We're loved. We're accepted just as we are. We don't have to change or fix or move anything. We are loved. We are seen. We are heard. We are felt right now. Every one of us, every being on this planet, heard, seen, felt right now, uniquely loved, loved, loved. And as Ernest Holmes said, there's nothing to be healed, only God to be revealed. And when we allow ourselves to be fully seen, heard, known, and loved, we are revealing the power and the beauty of pure spirit. We are revealing the love of God. And there is wholeness, there is health, there is perfection beyond human understanding. There is a peace, there is an abundance, there's a creativity, there's a beauty, there's a harmony. Beyond anything we've ever known before, we allow ourselves to move past our habit patterns into something brand new, sparkling, open, and it's gentle and it's patient. It doesn't demand that we are some version of perfection that is external to us. Everything is accepted as we are now. We are loved now. Thank you, Mother, Father, God, infinite love, intelligence of the universe, for surrounding and enfolding every person in this room, every person on Zoom, every person who's listening to this talk, every person, whether they're listening to this talk or not, wherever they are, whatever church, synagogue, mosque, out in nature, with their family, by themselves, whatever is going on for people feeling invisible and alone, every being on this planet is seen, is heard, is known, and is loved right now. Right now, right now. And how great it is to know that all of this love is within us. The cosmos, this earth, and every being is within us now. We carry the universe inside of us. This consciousness that we are now goes out and heals people because they are in us and we are in them. There is no separation in time and space ever. Ever. The real truth of who and what we are is one with all beings. Magnificently and miraculously unique and miraculously and magnificently one. Thank you, God. And into this consciousness of oneness, we call forth those who are individually seeking our prayer, needing to remember who they are. They are in pain, physically, emotionally, mentally, feeling the bondage of suffering, of habit patterns. Let us in our own mind or out loud call out the names of those individuals who need our consciousness in this moment. Speak their names now. Barbara. Thank you, God, for these names that are being called out, for the love that is shared, for the love that is willing to see, to open, and to feel into this consciousness of oneness. I call forth the names of Sal and Will as they continue to heal in the hospital in their unconscious state. We know that they are healing. Their brains are healing, their bodies are healing into the wholeness that it already has been and always will be. We see and know that they are absolutely 100% loved, known, felt, and seen in this moment, right here and right now. Their perfection is known already. And as we know this for these young gentlemen, we know this for all of the boys who are involved in this car accident, continued healing. Prayers continue to know and feel the love and the healing and the wholeness and the perfection and the joy and the harmony and the health all of the time, in all beings, in all situations, in all circumstances. We are unwavering in our heart, in what we hear. We listen and we speak from this place of unconditional, unlimited wholeness. Thank you for this healing light as each and every person who's been in this prayer with me this morning. And we give one more special prayer. We'll do it a little later, but we also include Bianca. She's moving off to college and her unique journey. In her way, she's finding her way. And we love her. And we support her. In knowing her own joy, her own unique way, her own unique love, her own unique creativity and beauty and wisdom, her own unique guidance, and that she finds deep and abiding love on her journey and deep and abiding joy every step of the way. I am so grateful for the love of community, for this Lighthouse community, for Jack, who has been here for all 8 years, just showing up every week as music minister, just giving of himself and light and love. I am so grateful for every person that's ever shown up in the Lighthouse community from the day it started to this moment, and to all those who are on their way, for the infinite abundance and goodness and love and joy of pure spirit. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And in this gratitude without end, we just joyfully and peacefully let this word be now, knowing that as this word has been felt and known in the depths of our being, it truly is already done. I invite us now to say, and so it is. Amen and amen.